Hey, welcome back to the JKMoto Entertainment Channel. Welcome back once again to Stable B, our favorite place. Today, we're back with our trusty 2008 Yamaha R6 that we are borrowing from a friend to do some work on. If you can't tell right now, you'll tell in a second. I tore some fairings off. Hopefully, in the intro video, you guys remember we had some electrical issues we've got to work through. We got some cooling issues we've got to work through. And then we got to get this thing back to a kind of more racy feel, or at least more of a road racy feel, i.e. we're going to raise up the front, raise up the back, and bring the back tire back into a normal position for a sport bike. I had that from the owner. He's like, hey, can we do that? I took a look around. He's got adjustable links on the rear suspension. The front suspension just got moved down. Should be pretty easy to move back up. And then he's got a removable, non-permanent, non-riveted master link on the chain, which makes it awesome because that means I can just remove a few links of that chain, bring the back tire right back in after removing the swing arm extenders, and then put everything back up to stock height. So goal for tonight is to get this thing back to stock height and maybe start to pull the extension in. We'll see. This will be part one of the build. Well, I guess part two technically. If you haven't checked out part one, it was just an intro to the bike and I was talking about everything that we're gonna do. Go check that out. We'll link it up here. Part two, we're gonna bring this thing back up to stock height. I think that's where we're gonna finish tonight because I think it might take me a little bit of time to get everything done. But I'm gonna kind of walk you guys through that a little bit. It should be pretty fun. I've moved some front suspension before. I've done a lowering kit on rear suspension. I've removed lowering kits on rear suspension. Luckily, the person that did this one bought adjustable lowering links for the rear. So we don't actually have to pull any weight off the back of the bike because I don't have an engine lift in here, which is how I've done it previously. Or I think one time I hung a bike under my back raised patio or deck with some straps. It was actually a really fun time. I'll tell that story in a little bit, but that is what we're gonna get into tonight. So if you guys have any questions or any comments on maybe I'm doing something wrong or you've never done this before, you wanna see how to do it, it's a great time to learn. That's what we're gonna go through. We're gonna raise the front up, raise the back up, get it back up to a normal looking stock height Yamaha R6, and then in the next parts, we'll go through everything else. I said earlier the fairings are off. I took them off because I was looking into the cooling issue. Turns out there's a hole in the radiator. I went ahead and filled this thing up just to see if it was still having issues. There's a hole in the radiator, so we'll end up replacing the radiator later, but I figured you guys didn't need to see me taking plastics off a bike because otherwise every video I do on this channel will just be me taking plastics off a bike. And I think we all know how to do that. If you don't know how to do that, let me know down in the comments and I can make a video on removing plastics from a bike. It takes a lot of patience, more than anything else. But anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Right before we do, I do need you to go ahead and click the subscribe button down below and throw a like on the video. And once again, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them also down below. You can also always hit me up on Facebook and or Instagram at JKMoto Entertainment. So let's get into it. All right, so on your front suspension on your motorcycle, you have your clip-on, you have your top tree, and you have your bottom tree. The easiest way to move these things up and down is to leave the clip-on in place or to move the clip-on up to where you want it and then slowly move the top. So what we're gonna do right now is move the clip-on up so it's matched up to here. We're gonna use the clip-on kind of as our like bar, if you will, to keep everything from sliding down. So I'm gonna move these clip-ons up and I'm gonna loosen the top and the bottom and then I'll leave the top and bottom loosened until I get the whole thing raised up. I will do that by loosening my clip-on. Hopefully I have enough room to do that. And then I'll slowly pull everything up and then I will tighten the clip-ons down and then tighten the top clamp and the bottom clamp. The goal is to get them lined up with one of these lines. I think we're gonna pick this middle one, maybe the top one, we'll see. I'm not a suspension expert and I don't have the person here with me today, so I can't really tell you exactly which one is gonna actually be best for him, but that's what we're gonna go with. So I will start by loosening the clip-on here and moving that thing up so it's flush first, and then we'll go from there. All right, 6mm on this bike, probably pretty similar on yours. They like to use some pretty hefty boys up here, which is good because this is where a lot of your weight goes when you're riding the bike, so. Okay, turns out I'm real silly. That clip-on is actually all the way up already, which is so interesting. But there's a post down here down below, which I'll show you guys in a little bit, but a post down below on the top triple tree clamp, and the clip-on goes into that post. I didn't realize that post was actually all the way down, so that clip-on is meant to have that much gap right there. And there's an interesting gash in that thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen up this top on both sides, and then we'll loosen up the bottom on both sides. And these are all 6mm, which is nice and easy. And then we'll start pulling this bike up. And once again, the goal is that because the clip-ons are in there still and tightened, when we loosen this top and bottom, it all stays here. And we're gonna take this thing off. I don't know what that is. Put it back on later if he needs it. So there's our top clamp. This is where things get real fun and interesting, because there's everything else up here also. So now keep in mind, you can't absolutely do this on your bike without even a rear stand. I've done it before. It's not very fun. This is way better if you have a front headlift stand, which I don't. I should. If anyone's got recommendations on those, please throw them down in the comments. I know Pitbull makes good everything, but I don't have a front headlift stand. But with a front headlift stand, you can keep your forks floating, because you put the lift right under this bottom triple tree, so I'd be able to just loosen these up and just move my forks up and down as I please, which is very useful in situations like this. So there's that side. I'm gonna head over, go to the other side real quick. All right, so I've got bottom loosened, top loosened on both sides, pretty good. And as you can see, nothing's moved yet. So now we're gonna loosen these clip-ons, and I'm gonna leave this one tight. I'm gonna loosen the other side first, and this is gonna be my controlling side here to raise everything up. So come over, loosen this one. Big thing to keep in mind here, if you don't get these things absolutely level, hopefully this doesn't just fall down this side. Once again, much better to have a way of controlling all of this, but that's okay. All right, so now I'm gonna loosen this side up. Very carefully loosen here while holding on. This would be much better if we took the weight off the front fork, but that's okay. These things generally don't just like super slide around once they're loose, if that makes any sense. Kind of have to work at it anyway to get anything to go up. But that should be both sides loose now. We're gonna bring these things down now. All right, I don't want to talk about how this is set up, because it's actually a little more sketchy than I thought it would be. But we got the front wheel suspended because I have the whole bike on a floor jack with multiple extra jack stands kind of sitting around, make sure everything's good and safe. And now I'm able to kind of push these things through. The only issue is they're not really wanting to just move through nice and easy. So what we're gonna do, take a big old nut so I'm not pounding on the top, take a rubber mallet. I should probably do that with, yeah, we'll put a little bit of softness between us. We're just gonna ever so slightly tap these guys down in a relatively even, there they go. Now they broke free on both sides. I would assume so, but we'll give the bottom, the other side a tap too. All right, so now they finally kind of broke, which is good. We've got a full ½ inch or so of movement there, which is awesome. And now it feels like they're gonna be moving up and down a lot more naturally, if that makes any sense. Now we're gonna slowly jack the bike up a little more and just watch that climb its way all the way up, maybe, till we hit another spot. There we go. All right, so I'm almost there on that side, just about there on that side. Actually, I am pretty much there on that side. Makes it difficult with these little, this stuff looks really cool, but it makes it so difficult to tell where you're at. So I'm gonna lift that up a little bit because I've got it off on this side so I can tell where it's at. And I'm gonna pull a measuring device out, and we're gonna get down to some science here. Just so you know, I'm using this little caliper guy. We're not gonna go too crazy, but it's gonna allow me to measure that distance from there to there. I might actually, let me try and just bring it up exactly level with that line. There we go, on that side. How are we on that side? Also pretty freaking level with the line there. All right, so with that being level there, I'm gonna tighten this side up real quick. We're just gonna do our top tree. And once we're done tightening the top clamp, we can set it back down and get everything else tightened and then actually apply some torque specs. So we are level on both sides here. I apologize for the fan noise in the background. It got a little warm in the garage. This thing's about to look like a motorcycle again, a little bit. Put that back down now. There you go. Looks so nice. All right, now I'm gonna lower the jack back down. Theoretically, the bike shouldn't move too far down from here. The front tire is a little loose on the ground, but not anything too crazy. Well, all right. That side didn't want to stay clamped, I guess. Did that side? Yeah, okay. We'll put a little bit more on this one here, and we'll tighten up our clip-on also. Apparently that's what it wants to do right now. Tighten up this clip-on, kind of help that out a little bit. All right, let's try lowering that back down again. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, hopefully you guys can see now. This thing actually looks half decent again on the front. Next up, we'll get to the back. So, I've got all those on. Gonna look up some torque specs real quick, and we'll get everything torqued to spec. 19 on the top, 17 on the bottom. We will do the tops first because those are quite a bit easier to get to. All right. Okay. There's our top. Now we'll pull ourselves out this way. I'm gonna tighten these up by hand a little bit first. Now the one thing I haven't figured out yet is once I get this thing unlowered, how am I gonna get it back off the rear stand onto the kickstand, because I don't have a long enough kickstand. So I'm kind of hoping, I've got a couple extra kickstands floating around, kind of hoping that one of those will be the right length or be able to bolt onto the same system, if that makes sense. Okay, there's the top. Now for the bottom. Recheck the top. Recheck the bottom again. Now we'll go do the other side. Want an extension on this side, which is way nicer anyway. Double check, make sure we're still at 17. We are. Guess we're not using that for the bottom. All right, there we go. Recheck the top now. Back down to the bottom again. If you're wondering why I'm struggling so much on this year of bike, there's a brake line that likes to hang out right down there. Like low key literally right in front of those two bolts. There we have it. There's our raised back up Yamaha R6. In the front. We haven't done the rear yet. So that rear is still looking kind of a little interesting. I gotta pull those jack stands out of there. But it's sitting on the rear. So now next up, we're gonna be working down here. Got our links right here. We should be able to loosen bolt front, bolt back, and take those things. And I think we're gonna wanna go shorter with them. I gotta double check and figure it out. But I got a cool little cheat code for that. So I'll let you guys in on this again in a second. All right, so I did my cheat code. I used to have a lowering kit on my Gixxer when I first bought it. It came with it. Kind of cool because what I can do is always check my old lowering links that I have and see which way. So we're gonna end up shortening this, and that should make it taller. Because if we shorten that, it's gonna bring, anyway, if we take this whole link and we shorten it, it'll bring the swing arm close to the frame, which will force the seat back up. I think, I'm pretty sure. Someone let me know in the comments if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it's gonna go. So we're gonna try and get all four of these loosened, and then we're gonna try and take this thing just kind of one thread at a time. Well, you know what? They did put Loctite on it like they're supposed to, which is good. On one side anyway, guess not on the other. Okay, now for the big question, which way is gonna go smaller? Right there. I said we were gonna do one side and then the other.
What I'm watching for is to see, that's definitely raising that up. Oh yeah, right back to stock height. That's kind of cool actually, how good that is. So I think what we're gonna end up doing here probably is snugging it up on one side and not the other. This is getting uneven, question mark? I can't tell. Did I just go back the other way? Yeah, I did. All right, I'm gonna jump to the other side. I might have to pull this little exhaust pipe off of here for a second. It shouldn't actually be too difficult. That's just a can. Yeah, we're gonna do that. All right, so this little exhaust can was in the way. I don't know why there's all this heat wrap on here. It's kind of the only thing actually keeping this can on here is the hose clamp. So maybe the hose clamp was just meant to, or the heat wrap is just meant to protect the, ooh, it's welded. Okay. All right. Interesting. So why do we have a hose clamp and heat wrap? I'm gonna keep that off for a little bit, do a little more research, but we'll see if we can't get some movement in here anyway. Looks like we will be able to. Now the only hard part is I don't know which way I really need to go here. I can't tell which way the threads go. Yes, it should be the way that I'm going, which is good. I think I'm gonna have to loosen that, which would be that guy. We have a bolt. Woo! Now this should come down out of the way. It doesn't want to. Cool. It's 100% useless. Trying not to have to move the whole freaking bike just to get this thing to go, but apparently that might be what we have to do. All right, it's looking like we might get just enough flex out of the exhaust, which is good. To get this to go now. Now, for anyone asking, yes, this is much easier if you take the weight off the bike. But essentially, if you get the weight just right and you're slowly raising the bike up, you could almost do this by hand, I'd be willing to bet. But that's okay. No one likes easier. It'll also be easier if you don't weld your last piece of your exhaust on twice. Someone wanted SC Projects, but didn't have full system SC Projects money, which I can respect that a little bit. Now we should slowly be getting higher, and I can't tell. I have to go back to the beginning of this video and check and see. I think so. Kickstand sure is far off the ground now. So we're bottomed out. That's why that thing went. Now I need to try to measure in the distance between our two bolts and make sure it's equal on both sides. Pull out our measuring device and see. So what I'm gonna do, stick that all the way. Now, please understand, this is not a ruler, or at least it's not this long of a ruler, but I can put it in the middle of something, or right on the edge of a flat. I can look there and see, or let's snug these two up and just do it that way. Same thing on this side. This side shouldn't quite be there yet. Yeah, not quite, it's at the 7. So we're gonna go a little further on this side. All right, now, make sure I go the right way here. Definitely the wrong way. Well, there we have it, and it is snug up against the side, so we'll tighten these down so this doesn't move. Same thing on this side. All right. Well, there we have it. Back to somewhat normal height, or similar at least. Yamaha R6. We have a relatively stock height R6 again. This is gonna close up part 2, the back to normal height
Part 3 will probably be the back to normal length, because that'll take me an amount of time where we'll have to remove a tire and put a tire back on. That's always a joy. I'm sure there's plenty of spacers to deal with. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that and you learned a little bit. I learned a little bit myself. Sometimes these things might be a little stuck and you have to give them just a little bit of tap tap. And then remember, shorter means taller. And I watched that, it physically went up. So it'd be kind of cool to compare this to itself, especially once it's all done. Hopefully it turns out pretty good and pretty good looking. Just keep this in mind, if you're ever looking at lowering a bike, I understand it and it's absolutely like doable. And if you're a short person, it's okay. If you're just riding on the road, if you're riding on the track, you're gonna start throwing off the geometry. I had a whole kind of video that I did about lowering the negatives, how to avoid it, and what else you can do. So go ahead and check that video out, I'll have that up there. But if you are looking at lowering a bike and you think you wanna put a lowering link in the rear, I would do an adjustable one and or keep the original links with the bike, so that if you ever do want to go back, it's nice and easy. The adjustable, usually they're adjustable from stock height down to whatever height you want. So if you ever do want to go back, you can go back, kind of like we did here tonight. I think these ones are like 0 to 4 inches of adjustment, which is pretty crazy because they're not actually that long, but it moves that top part pretty aggressively. So it's almost hard to tell. I think it'll be easier once we get it back to stock length also. But hopefully you enjoyed part 2. The back to normal height. We'll get it back to normal length after that, and then we'll start getting some new parts installed as far as electrical and cooling goes. Thanks for watching. Once again, click the subscribe and like button. Throw any comments or questions that you might have down in the comment section down below. I absolutely appreciate it. Hope you guys are enjoying the R6 build, rebuild, fix series, and we'll see you all in the next video.